Alex Caceres versus Kevin Croom. We got minus 210 on Caceres and plus 175 on the hard-hitting hillbilly Kevin Croom. So Alex Caceres actually opened up at minus 225, got down to 235, and I was up to minus 210. And I think people are starting to get a little bit more privy to who exactly Kevin Croom is. But let's start off on the Bruce Leroy side, who's coming off a 3-fight winning streak now. That's wins over Steven Peterson, Chase Hooper, and Austin Springer, who stepped in on short notice for Giga Chikadze. I'd be very interested to see how that Chikadze fight would have went for Bruce Leroy. Methinks not the greatest, but he did go out there and defeat Austin Springer in a very solid manner as well too. We saw Springer go dive in for a takedown and perfectly countered by Caceres with a nice little uppercut that kind of stunned him, and then he followed up with a rear naked choke that got the victory there. Before that, pulled off a solid upset over Chase Hooper, who a lot of people were high on, thinking that if Caceres was getting choked out by the Kron Gracies and the Jason Knights, that automatically Chase Hooper was going to be able to do the same thing. Caceres proves them wrong, does a good job of keeping the fight on the feet and pretty much just keeping Chase Hooper at range, and even did mess around a little bit on the ground, and was safe enough to cruise home to a decision victory. So good win for him there. Now going up against Kevin Croom, I think he's just getting a lot of love from the recent 3-fight winning streak that he's on, but Kevin Croom offers up a lot of tough spots for him here. We know Caceres, he needs his range to really get his game going. His kicking game is really good. Solid speed, very unorthodox approach to his striking. He throws a lot of spinning stuff, a lot of flying stuff. Has some solid jiu-jitsu as well too. But I truly believe that once he gets space and his opponent allows him to kind of operate at that distance, at that kicking distance, he's pretty much on cruise control and he can take home a decision victory. Unfortunately for him, he's not getting that in Kevin Croom here. I think that Kevin Croom is very live to go out there and spring the upset here, and that's by just moving forward, landing some good shots, maybe get a couple takedowns if he's feeling frisky about it. But I do think that most of his success will come from just pushing the pace on Alex Caceres. Kevin Croom has a solid gas tank. We did see him go 5 rounds before he came into the UFC against Anderson Hutchinson, taking home the FAC title that night. But he has a solid wealth of experience as well too. We're talking about a guy that has over 33 fights, coming into his 34th fight. I believe, this will be his 35th fight since that no contest for the Roosevelt Roberts fight. Again, the guy stepped in on short notice, popped for marijuana. Could you really blame the guy? I feel very bad that he got that loss taken off his record. But apparently rules are rules. But he came into that fight as a pretty significant underdog to Roosevelt Roberts. I think it was around the plus 350, plus 375 range. And he lands a big bomb right to begin with and then follows up with the power guillotine choke that Roosevelt Roberts just was not able to get out of. So very solid performance there from Kevin Croom. But it was only 31 seconds, right? How much could we really learn from that 31 seconds? Luckily enough, for Kevin Croom, we have a wealth of tape available on him, and you can see him going out there and showcasing that pace, pressure, and cardio type of game that we normally see from him. You wouldn't expect, solid work from a guy with the nickname hard-hitting hillbilly, but James Krause has done a really good job in terms of rounding this guy out to be a very good MMA fighter, and especially that pace and pressure, man. I'm going to continue to bang on that throughout this breakdown, as I believe that's his path to victory here. And he has some solid volume as well too. It's not just he's just moving forward. He's actually throwing strikes, elbows, punches, kicks, and he has a solid Muay Thai clinch game as well too, where he's able to rain elbows on his opponent's head and do some good damage from there as well. If he wants to go for the takedown, I believe the takedown is there for him too. I do think he has to mind his P's and Q's a little bit being on the ground with Bruce Leroy, but I don't think that it's something that he hasn't seen in the past before. He does have, I believe he has more fights. Yeah, he does have more fights here than Alex Caceres, and he's been fighting some solid competition on the regional scene, right? Anderson Hutchinson, again, somebody that I highly rank. John Macapa Teixeira, who's a Bellator veteran. Derek Minner, he's fought on the regional scene as well too. Matt Bissett, solid names that he's fighting throughout his career, and getting wins over some of these guys as well too. So I do rate Kevin Croom. And I do think that he's a solid underdog spot here too. I wouldn't even be surprised if he should be a favorite too. Yeah, I mean, given his style, I don't think he's going to give Alex Caceres the room to operate to really get his game going. So I'm on the Kevin Croom train here. I think that he even springs the upset via decision here. I think he's a solid spot. Plus 175 is currently where his line is at, and the line is starting to dig down. So if you're on the Kevin Croom train, I think you get on it now, because I think the more people that start to look into this fight, the more people will be like, oh, I should probably have money on this underdog. Like, it's almost starting to remind me of Sungwoo Choi the other week against Yusuf Zalal. I missed the train there. I don't think I'm going to miss a train here on Kevin Croom, who deserves to be, much closer. This should be a pick 'em, if anything, as I do believe that Kevin Croom has all the chops, not to mention the solid head coaching of Mr. James Krause and Glory Kickboxing, or Glory MMA, I believe that they're called. Glory MMA and Fitness is their name. But Kevin Croom's doing some good work over there, and I'm sure he wants to get back onto the winning track with his last fight going to a no contest. So I got Mr. Kevin Croom to win this fight via a decision.